r/AskReddit. Doctors and nurses of Reddit who have delivered babies to mothers who clearly cheated on their husbands. What was that like? My brother had a surprise baby this way. He and a co-worker had a one-night stand while she was broken up with her ex. She gets back with her ex. Ends up pregnant. Flash forward to the delivery day. The day my brother sends me a picture of a random baby out of the blue and says, "I think I am a dad." She is white. Her boyfriend is black. My brother is white. Baby came out looking very white. I don't know how it went down in the hospital room, but I know they separated very soon after. My brother went to visit her in the hospital and asked her if she would let him take a paternity test. She agreed and it came back positive a week later. And that's how I got my surprise nephew. How are mom, baby and surprise daddy doing today? Surprise mechanics. Anesthesiologist here. C-sections are typically done under spinal anesthesia. And we're the ones at the head of the table keeping the mother calm and talking her through the procedure while the surgeons operate. I've seen it more than once. But I remember one in particular when the parents were both very Caucasian. And the baby was very much not. The actual father obviously had to be very dark-skinned. At delivery, when the not father saw the baby, he just looked down at his wife, who was starting to cry, and calmly said, "You ducking whore," and walked out. She started screaming for him to come back. But there wasn't much she could do since she was, still being operated on. She lost it to the point I eventually had to sedate her just a bit because she was in danger of injuring herself. As far as I know, her husband never came back to the hospital. I don't know what happened after that. She's a high stakes gambler. 50/50 I come out of this scot-free. The kind of woman to walk up to a roulette wheel and put it all on black. Newborn had chlamydia. Got it from the mom. Obviously. So the mom admits she was cheating on the dad. Because there's no other way to explain that one. Except the dad was cheating too. With the other guy's girlfriend. And all four of them had chlamydia. With no idea who had it first. They also had no idea who the actual dad was. That was a rodeo. Ducking koalas. Poor baby. Not a doctor. But my best friend's brother-in-law has two black parents and came out completely white. DNA test confirmed they were both his parents. It just be like that sometimes. Where along the line did you start doubting that the mother was related? In Cuba. No one looks like their parents. Mixed race babies be like that. Not exactly cheating, but definitely an awkward situation. During my OB rotation in med school, I was caring for a patient with a very large family. The kind that all wanted to be part of the delivery process from beginning to end. They were having a baby girl. And the room was absolutely filled from wall to wall with pink presents. Bassinets. Blankets. Clothing. Embroidered quilts. You name it. Anyways, I deliver the baby and I'm horrified. Thinking there was some sort of mutation in the baby's vagina. After my initial shock, I realized it was simply a perfectly normal looking baby penis and testicles. The "congrats, it's a boy" was met with shock instead of excitement initially. But then everyone was so happy after understanding he was perfectly healthy. Apparently even with good prenatal care. You can miss the male genitalia on ultrasounds about 1% of the time. That's the least worst mistake possible. He might have to wear pink for a couple of days. Super awkward for everyone involved. The husband was only in the room for a bit then left and didn't see him again. The father of baby, showed up after the baby was born. I've also had where they didn't know whose baby it was, so both guys were present to see who they thought it was. Two of my cousins and one of our friends had that situation. The girl was upfront with all of them when she found out she was pregnant. She wasn't dating any of them, just being a free spirit. So, there they were. 3 dudes sitting in a waiting room waiting to find out whose life would change forever. Baby came out a spitting image of one of my cousins. To this day I'm amazed how well it all worked out. No drama. Kid has 2 loving parents even though they've never formally been together. Hold on. That's the plot of Mamma Mia. I'm a nurse. I have seen quite a few situations where dad turns out not to be dad. But never because of the color of the newborn. I have. However, seen an absolute duck ton of kids who are born and don't look like the same ethnicity as their parents for days or sometimes a couple of weeks. Babies often look darker when they are born. Just saying. Some of these anecdotal stories might not necessarily be true. I have seen quite a few situations where dad turns out not to be dad. But never because of the color of the newborn. Go on. Grabs popcorn. Sometimes we have kids in the NICU for months on end if they are preemies or have congenital conditions. There is a lot of time for family drama, and some of the less classy families really don't mind if it plays out in public very loudly. There has been more than one occasion where it turns out that the close family friend who visits a lot ends up being dad. We also had one horrible situation where granddad turned out to be dad. As in the maternal granddad. Obligatory, not a doctor/nurse. But both of my parents have blonde hair. When I was born, my hair was strawberry blonde. My paternal grandparents lost their hit and accused my mom of cheating because red tinted hair didn't run in their family. However, it ran in my mom's family, with a redhead popping up every now and then. My paternal grandparents didn't know that. They just really hated my mom, so looked for excuses to drag her down. It wasn't until I stopped looking like a potato, as most newborns do, and started looking like a person when my dad's family features came through enough to make them apologize to my mom. Did your mom forgive them? I'd flip my hit forever if my in-laws said that to me. After giving birth. Damn. The duck is wrong with in-laws accusing hit like this. I'm of Irish descent. Extremely pale. Freckled. Wavy dark hair and darker green eyes. My fiancé is half Native American. Half German. Dark hair and slightly wavy as well. My daughter came out with light brown curly hair and ever so slight strawberry blonde pieces mixed throughout. Curls for days. And the nurse goes, "Wow. Where did you get that hair?" Knowing I had similar color as a baby and my mother has kinky curly hair. My husband, in a room full of nurses, goes, "I don't know, jaded. Where did she get that hair?" I could have ducking killed him. The real reason for epidurals. Keep new moms from jumping from the bed to throttle their husbands. I have a white friend who is a superman of a dad. When his third child was born, she was obviously of mixed race. His white wife had an affair with a black man. The wife also had substance abuse issues before this pregnancy and was no longer dependable or stable as a mother. So my friend immediately divorced her and took custody of the kids. All of them. He's been raising his 2 bio kids and the third child, who isn't technically his, for the past decade. She's his princess and he loves her exactly like the other 2. Edited to answer a couple of questions. He is a straight man who has not remarried. He's done this all on his own. Dated here and there. But nothing serious yet. He's too busy with 3 kids. Full-time career. And a small business to run. Also, bio dad to the third child waived his rights immediately when he found out about her birth. He was mom's dealer and their fling was a one-time thing that resulted in pregnancy. He had zero interest in fatherhood. Man, I absolutely love stories where people are able to get past the baggage and love a child as theirs. It says so much about the character of the person. Mother to be warned. This could go one of 2 ways prior to delivery. Wasn't sure what she meant. She was white. As was her husband. Delivered baby was black. Then it all made sense. Edit. This happened about 4 years ago. Sorry to be anticlimactic. But I don't know where they are today or how the situation turned out. I can tell you that the dad left the room immediately and the mom burst into tears. So this leads me to believe he might have had a suspicion. Otherwise there might have been a little more shock. I honestly don't know. Yes. I did mean to say mixed and not black. I never said I was a doctor. Yes. I did just join Reddit 5 days ago. Does that make my story less interesting? Haha. Sorry for being new. So one of my very white friend's girlfriends was pregnant. And when the baby was born it was very purple looking. Buddy flipped out. Went on Facebook announcing she was a cheating hoe and had another man's baby. Few days later the baby was very white and the DNA test showed it was his. He just deleted his whole damn Facebook instead of owning up to it. Did he think she cheated on him with Barney the dinosaur? When my baby was born, people asked me if her father was Polynesian. Nope. He's a skinny white man. There was no doubt he was the father. She was born with thick black hair. She was a big baby, 4 kg, and had jaundice, which made her look very tan. The hair fell out. The jaundice went away. She thinned out, and I now have a strawberry blonde haired 2-year-old that looks exactly like her papa. But man, if I hadn't known he was the only man I'd slept with, I would have some serious doubts. When my eldest was born, first he was a boy when we were told it was a girl. And then the midwife's cleaning him up and says, oh, his hair looks strawberry blonde. Me and husband are both dark, so that was unexpected. I meant to make a joke and say, are you sure he's mine? But still being high as a kite on Picotin and gas and air, I said, husband, are you sure he's yours? Midwife freaked out. You can't say that, you can't say that. Husband, who had known me long enough to know my bad jokes, just looked at me, sighed and shook his head. And that was the last chance I had to joke about his paternity. Kid is a total daddy clone except for his hair. Your husband knows you well. Sorry to hear about the short shelf life of the joke. My brother married a half Korean, half white woman who had 3 girls to the same Mexican guy. The first girl looks Latina. The second girl looks Pacific Islander. The third girl has platinum blonde hair and icy blue eyes. They look nothing alike. And yet if you look at their lineage, it all makes sense. I don't know if this ever caused any issues between her and her ex, but I could understand if an eyebrow was raised in the third one. Now she has a 4th girl with my brother and she looks nothing like the other 3. Just standard brown hair, brown eyed white girl. I know this ain't super relevant to the question, but it always entertains me. My mother is from NZ, of Scottish descent. Had red hair when she was young. My dad is from Australia and has jet black hair and looked a bit like Errol Flynn when he was younger. Slightly olive skin. My older brother has red hair and very fair skin. My older sister has jet black hair and slightly olive skin. I have brown hair and freckly skin. My younger brother has blonde hair and tanned skin. Not a cheating story, but my sister's friend was born fair skin with red hair and green hazel eye colored. Both parents are dark skinned with black hair and brown eyes. When her mom gave birth, everyone in the room went silent. However, the father knew that his wife didn't cheat. Turned out, his wife great-great-grandmother had red hair and fair skin. However, hospital protocol made both parents get a DNA test, and everything was okay. I'm red-haired with blue eyes from a dad with black hair and brown eyes and a mom with auburn hair and hazel eyes. My sister is light blonde with blue eyes. My sister looks very much like my dad features wise, but I'm more like my mom, and I'm not entirely convinced my dad is my dad, but at this point, it'd be just an odd for your information. He's my dad in the way that matters. My mom is blonde, hazel eyes. My dad has black hair, brown eyes. My brother has black hair, brown eyes. All are relatively tan. My brother has naturally olive skin. I have red hair, blue eyes, and skin so pale I glow in the sun. Ginger genes lurking for generations, biding their time. Little different twist, I am Ukrainian. My great-grandfather was Crimean Tatar, who are mixed Turkic and Mongolian. My wife is Ukrainian and Italian. My first boy was blonde. My second was dark-haired, dark-skinned, and has the classic almond-shaped Asiatic eyes. Mongolian spot. Despite the fact that we know my family history, we ordered a test to make sure there was no separation at birth. Stuff. C-section. Yep. That's our boy. You would never know looking at us that that boy is genetically related to us. And we love him to pieces. I'm a midwife. The only one I've seen was when a baby had to be taken to the nursery for treatment for abo incompatibility. We test the blood groups of all babies born to O+ mothers because they're at risk for it. So the mother was O+, and the baby was something else, would have been from the father. The father was insisting it couldn't be correct because it didn't match his blood group. We had to tell him to be quiet. Now was not the time place. Don't what ended up happening. However, they were from an ethnic background that may value certain blood types over others, so we did wonder if he actually knew his type or his parents had just told him it was the good one. till there is a hierarchy of blood types. People will hit on each other for any reason. From a quick Google, it looks like some in Japan and South Korea think that it predicts personality and temperament. I guess that explains why manga will sometimes randomly mention blood types. Not exactly the situation you're asking for, but Reddit loves a good crazy mill story. My dad is blonde and my mom is brunette. I came out of the womb with fiery red hair. My dad's mom made a huge fuss about my mom cheating on my dad and had to be escorted out of the hospital. My grandmother's own mother had flaming red hair, which she apparently forgot until my great-grandmother held me for the first time and said, "I always wanted a baby with my red hair." Wait, so your dad's mom forgot that her own mom had red hair? Well, she was a great-grandma at that point. She probably had grey hair for a long time. Had a patient who came into ER for UT with her boyfriend of 4 months. His words. She was 19. Acting extremely dramatic for just having UT. We tell her we need urine. She urges us to cath her, which is really unusual, but she says she can't pee, so me and other nurse assume the position to put in a catheter with her lying on the gurney. At this point, nurse screams, "Call L&D." She's crowning. L&D nurse gets in just in time to grab the child as it shoots out into her hands and is a living, breathing baby. The girl swears she had no idea she was pregnant. They wheel her off to postpartum and the guy is just kind of left standing there, dumbstruck. We only been dating 4 months. I had no idea she was pregnant. She never mentioned it at all, as he just buried his head in his knees while he was sitting on the floor against the hallway wall. I felt so bad for the guy. Maybe I'm wrong, but wouldn't a pregnant person have at least some physical indication that they are pregnant? Like, I know there's the fear of asking if someone is pregnant and they aren't, but like, if you're dating, won't that be fairly evident over time? Edit. Just want to thank everyone that has responded. I now understand that it is not uncommon for women to not show typical pregnancy signs during a pregnancy. I have learned more than I expected today. If you ever see the show I Didn't Know I Was Pregnant, it's more common than you think. Some ladies just plain won't show at all, and others may just look a bit plumper but not obviously pregnant. Not a doctor or nurse, but in undergrad I had a buddy, Caucasian, who'd been dating the same girl, also Caucasian, for a while. She gets knocked up. He proposes. Fast forward a few months and both families are eagerly waiting at the hospital to meet the baby. The baby comes out black. Everyone is in shock. Girl is frantically trying to convince everyone that there's been a misunderstanding. My buddy called off the engagement immediately, returned the ring, and never looked back. Misunderstanding? How could there be any kind of misunderstanding? I had a friend in high school who was black and Filipino but looked more black than Filipino, including skin tone. Issue is his mother is Filipino and his father is white. He popped out and the story goes she said the exact same thing. Swears up and down it's his. Paternity test comes out and he was, in fact, his. They did research and tests and his great-great-grandfather on the Filipino side was black. Makes for interesting family pictures with them. A friend of mine tells the story of his aunt giving birth, in the 1970s or 80s, to a baby that at first glance appeared to be of Asian descent. Aunt and her husband are both Caucasian Midwesterners from long lines of the same sort. Going back to Germany, there was evidently a shock moment. And then the aunt's father, my friend's grandfather, quipped, "Well, they say 1 in 7 babies is born Chinese." And everyone laughed. The tension broke. Long enough for the doctor, also a white Midwesterner of German stock, said that likely the kid's color is just off due to the events of the birth. That baby is now a man in his 30s or 40s. And looks like your typical Midwesterner. He just had some tinge to his skin for a few hours following the birth. Plus some dark hair at birth that has since lightened up. No idea what the doctors thought. But I had a phone call from the wife asking for my blood type while they were in the hospital the next day, and I ducked home. I'm A. The wife is O. Bub is A+. I've done enough science to know where that's going. Have done DNA testing. I'm 100% the dad. Still not sure how to get more interesting science info about the myriad markers that apparently exist. As explained to me by a clinical scientist. Sometimes it's not a hard plus or you can actually be somewhere in between. They can easily be mistyped as, and often are. If you are curious, you both can be tested again. Willing to bet one of you is a soft plus. Thanks for watching and be sure to subscribe to RedditQueen for the best daily content.